Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today we're going to be going over the good and the bad of Season 6 of Battlefield 2042. At this point I've played a good few hours of this season. I've tried the new map, as well as the vast majority of changes to the vehicles and things of that nature, and I have to say I was on the whole rather impressed. However, there are also several things that are needlessly tarnishing the success of Season 6 that I would like to see addressed. DICE have drastically increased the amount of XP required to level up the battle pass. A bunch of people are having trouble booting into the game or even downloading the patch, and the jet gameplay has really taken a step backwards with the recent change to the afterburner. Before we begin though, if you guys do enjoy the content here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I've got a ton of info coming for Season 6, from weapon guides to news to vehicle changes, so if that is your cup of tea, then I would certainly appreciate your support. So I'll start this video off by saying there is a lot to like here. I think the new map has been implemented incredibly well. It definitely scratches that Operation Locker or Metro itch, while still providing you with tons of flanking routes and means in which to bypass your enemy, although it will certainly take you a few rounds to get used to it. The two large dome objectives are my favourite areas, I think. You know, one of them is very dark, it almost feels like a cemetery of sorts, and the other has a lot more verticality to it and buildings to hide in. Now, I haven't gotten round to playing any Breakthrough yet, but from what I've heard, Conquest is the place to be. There is a pretty significant long flanking route that runs all the way down the side of the map, which is absolutely paramount in allowing you to backcap the enemy and, you know, push back that front line. And for whatever reason, this is apparently an out of bounds area in Breakthrough and therefore unusable. So without that, I can certainly imagine how things really get out of control with explosive spam and things like that. But like I say, that's just what I've heard. It's been really fun to pick up some weapons I wouldn't normally use. I joked on Twitter recently about it being finally time to tier 1 the 12M auto on this map, but actually, thanks to Torbis's recommendation, I found myself using the MCS 880, which, if I didn't know better, has received some kind of a stealth buff because it seems to have a much longer one-hit kill range now. I also spent an entire round running Pike, as she too has just received a buff to her scanner, and let me tell you guys, she's kind of OP for this map. So you can see the pings of your enemy through the smoke with her, and if you've been to those large choke points that are typically filled with the stuff, so you can just spray through it and pretty accurately kill whoever is on the other side. Additionally, there are people popping down ammo crates all over this map, so you can constantly be dropping your tugs, your spawn beacon, and, you know, refilling your own smokes. Now on the flip side, however, it kind of feels like DICE has damn near killed off suppressor gameplay altogether with their recent changes. They basically made it almost a necessity to run the subsonic ammo with a suppressor to gain the same benefit you would previously with only a suppressor. Now, I guess they did this to encourage people to pick up and use the neglected subsonic ammo, but instead it's just resulted in people putting down suppressors, which were arguably not the best attachments anyway. Now, meanwhile, if we move on from the new map for a second, I also hopped into some 128 player Conquest to try out the new vehicle changes. So let me start with the good stuff. So the tanks feel really nice to drive around now. They are far more nimble and agile than before. I certainly felt encouraged to be a bit more aggressive, and I wasn't nearly as worried about being C5'd as I would have normally been. So I think the tanks and the ground vehicles on the whole are certainly moving in the right direction. I also like the change to the gunship, so they've removed the 40mm grenade launcher and they've replaced it with a 30mm burst cannon. So this thing fires a 3-round burst, and it takes 2 bursts in general to kill an infantry player. So don't get me wrong, it is still powerful and it will be annoying if you're an infantry player, but it isn't nearly as powerful as the 40mm GL. So certainly a step in the right direction, but of course if it was up to me, I would remove the weapon entirely. The engineer changes are honestly a bit underwhelming. I did expect more here. Boris pretty much feels the same as he did before, and Crawford now has an extra rocket, but he had to sacrifice his old vehicle repair trait in order to get it. which is a shame. And just like I predicted pre-patch, there really doesn't feel like any reason for me to pick Boris over Crawford now. I'm simply going to opt for that launcher ammo if my goal is to take out ground vehicles, and if I want to take out air vehicles, well, then I'm going for Liz. And I think Boris is just going to end up by the wayside, somewhat obsolete. Rao, I think, is a bit hit and miss as well. As predicted, he absolutely cripples tanks, rendering them barely able to move or look around with his hack, and so the fact that they can still shoot really doesn't matter if you can't aim. Helicopters, on the other hand, I don't think we'll have too hard a time with him. I haven't really encountered him too much, so perhaps it's too early to say, and I may well eat these words, but feel free to chime in below and let me know what you think about him. Now, the jets. Where do I begin with the jets? So what they've done is they've limited the amount of afterburner time you have in the jets to about a 3-second burst, followed by a long wait. So jets in this game already felt incredibly sluggish to pilot, and the only way you had to really whip your jet and make it go in the true direction you wanted was with the afterburner, which they have now limited. I believe the reason they did this is to try to add some sort of skill to dogfighting, so you have to spend this finite resource at the opportunistic time. The problem is that usually the only way you're getting away from a lock-on or enemy wildcat fire is by afterburnering the hell out of there, and it just doesn't feel great to have a jet engage you right after you spent all your afterburners running away from the absurdly long range of the wildcat. I don't like it, man. I don't like it at all. But hey, maybe that's just me, so pilots, let me know what you think below. Meanwhile, DICE also seem to be facing some pretty severe technical problems with the EA app. Surprise, surprise. So I was streaming earlier today, and I had a bunch of people in my chat all saying that they either couldn't download the update for the game, or even worse, couldn't open the game at all. The solution for some people was to uninstall the EA app, and then run Battlefield 2042 again, which should prompt the reinstallation of the app, and hope for the best, really. I'm not sure if this issue will have been resolved by the time you see this video, but if you are encountering any problems, just know you're not alone, and I'm sure DICE and EA are working around the clock to figure this out. And finally here, let's talk about one of the biggest stealth changes that DICE didn't put in the patch notes here, the massive nerf they've made to progression on the Battle Pass. So if we go and take a look at the missions tab of the Battle Pass here, you might notice that this season is running for 16 weeks instead of 14 weeks. I can only assume this is to account for the 2-week holiday for Christmas and New Year's, which is perfectly understandable. However, you may also notice that we now only get 3 Battle Pass points for each mission. Previously you would get 4 points for each tier 1 mission, 5 points for tier 2, and 6 points for tier 3. So if we do a quick bit of maths here, you used to get 55 points total from 1 week of missions, but now you will only get 37. Furthermore, they have also increased the amount of XP you need to grind out each Battle Pass point. So in previous seasons, these points would start off at about 2000 XP per point, and in Season 6, they are starting off at about 6500 per point. So it doesn't take a genius to see that the grind for this Battle Pass has been massively extended from what it once was. Why would DICE do this, you ask? Well, I can think of a few choice reasons. Firstly, they want to keep you logging in, week out, so that you don't finish the Battle Pass too early, and to keep you chasing those weekly mission points to make sure that you get what's yours, which I absolutely hate. Normally I would finish the Battle Pass at about week 10, and it was just kind of nice, you know, to not have to stress too much over the Battle Pass for once. If you miss a 1 week of missions, hey, no big deal. And, you know, for those last few weeks of the season, just to not have to bother doing the weekly missions anymore. So if you're a gamer dad, for example, and you have limited time to play the game each week, well, you might want to get the kids to bed extra early, mate, because you've got some grinding to do now. And then, of course, the most obvious reason is that it makes those Battle Pass skips from that premium tier that much more attractive. You find yourself getting towards the end of the battle pass, the weeks are running out, you didn't have time to finish all the missions. Hey, why not I just throw some money EA's way and skip a few tiers? Stuff like this just makes me not want to purchase the battle pass at all. So overall, a good season, I think, well worth coming back to and having a look. Some of the balance changes are good, others questionable and still need a bit of tweaking, or in the case of the jet change, just reverting altogether in my opinion. And then some absolutely deplorable battle pass changes, most likely instigated by EA to keep you running on your little hamster wheel and worm you out of your money, no doubt. But hey, it's EA, man, what can I say? Guys, leave me your comments down below. I would love to hear about what you think on Season 6. Leave me a follow over on Twitch if you want to catch me live there. I am streaming 3 times a week, and I'm always up for jumping in game with you guys and squadding up, so I'd love to see you guys there. Special thanks to all the members and Twitch subs for your additional support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.